And Greg said it well. This is all about the Lord, and the Lord has done some really cool things in 19 years, and we want to just say a big thanks to all the men that are not on the Zoom call, but also all of you that are here today, and we are blessed. We are blessed to be part of this. We got some great testimonies for you today. It's a little different than our typical birthday celebration where I kind of give a bunch of stats and a bunch of awards. We're not going to do any of that today because COVID's kind of threw us for a loop on how we've done that historically. But Lord willing, next year come back 20 years and we'll do it right, okay? But today, testimony time, and I can tell you that yesterday the guys that shared were just dynamic. And some of those same men that shared yesterday are on, and we have some new men today that are gonna give testimony. And if we have time at the end, we might be able to even have a little spontaneous time as well. The way this will work on the testimonies is I'm going to actually have the person that's speaking up here, and whoever I'd say is on deck, you could go to the chair to be ready so that we can make a really quick transition. That would be great. Before we have our first one up, which is actually Chris Bell. So Chris, don't leave. You can stay there. You don't have to move over there. Let me just give you a couple of things historically so you know where we're at today in case you're a newbie to what we do. It was on September 26, 2001, just 2 weeks and a day after 9/11 that we had our very first meeting. The works for this were actually going on in the summer of 2001. Dan Erickson and I were kind of planning this out, and you might recall that first week that we met was at Super Salad Restaurant. We had 35 guys show up. They all got a brown tag. And if you're a brown tag member, there's a chance you were one of those first couple of guys. If not, you were a first-year guy. Bill Lewis, I apologize, we don't have reserved parking yet for all the brown tag guys outside, but you are an honored group of guys, and we're really grateful for them. Let me give you the other years just so you know historically where you fit in to this equation. Year 2 was the blue tags. Year 3 was the red tags. Year 4 was the green tags. Year 5 was purple. And then we went year 6 through 10, you're the white tag guys in that range. Years 11 through 15 was the yellow and orange tags. We went at the camo look, years 16 and 17. In the last 2 years, we've been diamond hole as years 18 and 19. So those are the entry points of when you entered. I haven't talked to Mike Bryan. Are we going to have a special edition for this? Have to work on that. Okay, Mike's the guy. Thank you, Mike, for serving us for all 19 years, getting those tags out. What a blessing to have that gift every single week. So thank you for that. And then, of course, we have a lot of guys to thank for the Panera contribution, the pickup at Panera, the coffee guys, the setup people. I mean, we just have a lot of faithful men that help serve coffee, that help serve the pastries, that set up this technology for us. We are truly, truly blessed by that as well. So thank you for that. Let me just run through quickly just some of the memories of 19 years. And I won't go into detail on all this, but this, maybe you can remember some of these things that we did. Of course, we mentioned Super Salad, Mail and Copy Plus, Culver's, Summit Christian Academy, Lee Summit Community Church, The Element, Common Ground, Paradise Park, the Stanley Event Space. Those are some of the facilities that we've been at over the years. Of course, we've had tomorrow will be our 18th golf tournament. We've had thousands and thousands of lessons on character and integrity. In fact, doing the math, somewhere around 1,850 times we've gathered here in Lee Summit over that 19-year period. And then if you count the other groups that meet in the city, somewhere around 7,500 different meetings that we've had for this ministry. Creation of all kinds of small groups, accountability groups, there's Band of Brother groups. We've been part of many of the prayer breakfasts around the city, Raytown, Independence, Overland Park, Blue Springs, right here in Lee Summit as well. Of course, our Royals Faith and Family event has always been a highlight, including concerts by Michael W. Smith and Casting Crowns and Building 429 and Matthew West, trying to remember some of the other ones that we've had, but been awesome. We had a Stephen Curtis Chapman concert. You might remember that. We've been all part of all kinds of movies. You might remember when The Passion of the Christ came out. We had over 600 people at that moving morning. With all the the SWAT teams that were on the roof protecting us from the hostile people. If you don't know that story, see me or someone will tell you about what happened that day. Crazy day. Part of other movie launches, including I Can Only Imagine, Unplanned, Woodlawn, War Room, God's Not Dead, Courageous, the Noah, Finding Noah movie. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Books, Dan Erickson books, Casey Wolf books, the books that I published. We've had a number of special speakers, Jeff Kemp, John Kidney, Eric Bowles, Michael Joyner, Mike Sweeney, and the list goes on and on and on of all kinds of speakers that we've featured. I remember we had Josh McDowell for our Valor and Virtue Conference. I mean, we've had just a ton of people. We've done mission work together, Jamaica, Haiti. We've done Navajo Indian Reservation work. We've had volunteer car washes. We've had Teen Challenge cleanup days. Some of you remember the Dan Erickson moving day. That was an historic day. I remember that day. We've had the Harold Finch Success Seminar, the Naismith Project, Casey Bible Experience, the Sending Project, hundreds and hundreds of dedicated volunteers, and who could also forget, and I didn't mention it yesterday, the fireworks tent. So we've had a lot of different memories, and God's been good, he's been faithful, and we give God praise for that. The new thing for this year, the last 6 months, has been Zoom. I mean, it's been a brand new adventure for us. We now have a YouTube channel. We never imagined that that would be a reality, but it's happened. And kind of the man that's behind that has made that happen is Chris Bell. And I'm going to give Chris the first shot this morning. I'm actually going to hold the mic for Chris. Chris, come on up. Where would we be without Chris's efforts? Thank you, Chris, for serving us this year. Bobby Bell, you're on deck. He's coming on up. So, Chris, tell us about what this year has been, especially with TGIW.
You know, a great group of guys, very uplifting. It really just made a difference in my life. So just being around everybody, just that uplifting spirit every week. Whenever I got the call, whenever Rod said, hey, we're going to need to move this online, couldn't have been happier to help out, and was happy we were able to keep TGIW going during the whole COVID time.
Chris, thank you. Thank you so much. Johnny Pinnell, you're on deck. Johnny Pinnell, you're on deck. All right, Bobby. Hey, by the way, Bobby's our speaker tomorrow at the golf tournament, and thank you for serving us that way. Tell us about your involvement here and what God's done through it as well.
Well, just the accountability. I have a carpet cleaning service, and I'm in people's homes, and you have an opportunity to be that light. Sometimes you just don't know whether or not you're going to be the light that somebody sees that day that changes their life. And through this group, I've been able to keep my body and myself in the right lane where I'm serving Jesus with all my heart. And you guys out there keep me accountable, whether I see you or I don't see you, because I don't want to fail you. I don't want to fail Jesus. I don't want to fail you. And it's very important for me that I take care of my opportunities. I pulled people out of cars that have wrecked, off the bottom of pools who are drowning. I've gotten calls late at night, saying that their son died in their arms. And that's an opportunity to share Jesus, an opportunity to love on people. And I want to be able to fully do that. And the discipleship program here with the teachings that Greg and Rod give us are second to none. Even, your struggles in your marriage. I think about when I have problems with my wife or whatever. I think they're problems. They're not really problems, but, I want to escalate them more than what they are. I think, well, maybe I should divorce her or something. Then I think about Rod and Jana. I would have to answer to Rod and Jana about that. And I go, no, I better get back in there and work things out a little bit. So that opportunity, just having the accountability from this group, Rod especially, and the ghetto section over here, I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's here and we're over there. But guess what? It's real, and it's not just over there. It's over here too. It's everywhere. And I hope I can encourage you guys that loving Jesus is a fun, righteous walk that we should all enjoy with all our hearts. So I love you guys. It's a great opportunity for guys, because we'll get lost every now and then. We'll start wandering. And if somebody doesn't grab you and pull you back in, guess what? You might be lost forever. And I hope that doesn't happen. So that's what this group does for me.
Amen, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, Bobby tomorrow is going to talk about faith, family, and friends, and he is an amazing friend. Next on deck is Jeff Dykeman. So Jeff, come on up after this. Johnny, come on over. Come over here. Come over here. Okay, because I realize we got to be centered to the camera. Johnny, you are a blessing. And let me just say this before he makes his remarks. Johnny invited me during the COVID time to join his little Hy-Vee group on Fridays. And guys, that is a hoot, and that is a blessing. So thank you for that invitation and just allowing me to participate with your men as well. So tell us why you're involved, Johnny.
I'm involved because of this guy right over here, Kyle Porter. That's who invited me when we was up here on Douglas at the hamburger place. And he invited me to this group, and I really just came so he wouldn't come in the next Wednesday morning and say, hey, Johnny, you need to come. You need to get in here, you know. So I said I would just shut him up, you know. And really, you know what? I give him credit for it, but I give God the glory for it. And I got in here, and I got with Rod and Greg and Dan and a lot of these guys at this northeast table over here. We're gonna have to get a bigger table over here for these guys over here. And I'm telling you, with Team Jesus and them, Pastor Brian and them, and all these guys, and we just been disciple makers. You know, here with the teaching that we get from this group, it just really made my heart just bleed, really. And my heart is really pleased with what we are doing now. And at Hy-Vee's, when we go up there on Friday, I mean, it's just so rich, like Rod say, you know, like all of the people's in the kitchen, the people that wait on us, the people that serve us, come and ask us for prayer, and we just sit there and pray for them right there. We don't go home to pray for them, we pray for them right there in Hy-Vee's. And it's just really just so rich. And I'm telling you, when you give your heart to the body of Christ, you're gonna get busy. Now, it ain't easy getting up all these mornings because I'm a working man. I've been working all my life. I ain't gonna tell you my age, but I'm still working. And if I don't have nothing to do, I'm not happy. So we just stay busy, just going out, praying for people. These guys here, this young man sitting right here, the last Sunday we had service at my church, he preached the sermon. That was the third Sunday in March. And I just love all these guys here, you know. And it's just been so rich for me. So anyway, I stood up to be seen, spoke out to be heard, and I'm gonna sit down to be appreciated.
Love it. Harry Foster, you're on deck over here. All right, Jeff Dykeman, one of the blessings, scoot over because we get the camera here. One of the blessings of COVID has been Jeff's re-engagement with us. And Jeff, tell us about that journey. It's a cool journey.
Rod was talking about before with the different colored badges, and I proudly have a brown badge that I was one of the first, but you can still read my name on there quite clear, and it's not worn or anything, and that's where my problem was. I was in it for a while, and then I think Culver's is when I dropped out, and it wasn't because of anything bad that I dropped out. It was just other things that got in my life. It was coaching. We had things going on in the morning with films going on before school. Couldn't come then. And then it was with the teaching. They had special meetings on Wednesdays that we had to be there at 6:15 or 6:30 in the morning for, so I couldn't make it then. So it was just a lot of little things, nothing bad, but just kind of got me off the path, out of the lane, like Bobby was saying. And then I remembered just the last few years, I retired from full-time teaching in 2014. I'm still doing part-time teaching at the alternative school, and so I kind of gotten away from some of those things and had a little more free time. And so anyway, I also decided I'm going to get back on the right track, and by my own willpower, I'm going to make this happen. And I'd start to do that, and it would last for a week or two, and then it would fade away. I'd try it again a month or two later, and again, it'd kind of fade away. And so all the things that I was doing on my own weren't working. And so I found the U version online, and that was a big help to me because it had all kinds of scripture in there and devotions and stuff that can encourage me. And so it started with that. And then when COVID hit, it's weird to say it, but it was kind of a blessing. I know it's been a bad thing, but it's been a blessing with all the things that's come about. Mike Hilbert, who's the basketball coach at Lee Summit North, told me about Rod was doing Zoom. And we were doing that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I thought, there's not a whole lot going on right now, so I've got no excuses. So got online, and I was just amazed at the teaching, stuff that Rod was saying, stuff that Greg was saying, all the great guys he had on there that were sharing stuff. Really, really spoke to me and encouraged me. There was when you do the Zoom thing, you've all seen it. It's like the Hollywood Squares, and everybody's got a little stamp or whatever. And there was this one guy, and his name was Team Jesus, and I'm like, I don't know what that's all about. Does he go by team, or is it Mr. Jesus? But every week I'm flipping through there, and there's that Team Jesus guy, and I'm like, wonder what he's about. I now know, and wow. It's incredible. So the people that God has just in the past 6 months that have brought into my life that have been encouragement to me is amazing. And that whole team over there, as they sit, they're incredible. And they challenge me as all of you do and everything else. The second thing was there was the accountability piece that goes with all of this. And I'd gone online to the TGIW, and it talked about the three principles of TGIW, and one was teaching the word, and I was all for that. The second thing was about real life application, making it real, and then we talk about all the guys that speak. They speak about real stuff. I think that's why we're all here probably, is because it's take the stuff we read about and make it real. And the third was have an accountability piece where you got some friends around you. And I remember thinking, Rod's got some really cool friends, but I wish I was Rod. I wish I had those. I'd be staying on the path if I had those kinds of friends. And then the Lord kind of spoke to me and says, you do. And I'm like, and he's like, here's 3 guys right now that have been going to Zoom and doing all this stuff. He said, get in touch with them and start something. And I'm like, I don't know, Because again, I knew I could maybe kind of get off that path a little bit, and so I do the text, and I wait to hit the button, and then I finally hit send, and I'm thinking, they probably won't even respond to it, and that'll be fine. I tried, I tried to be accountable, but it didn't work. And within a minute or two, all 3 of them responded. And they said we're 100% on board. So Mike Hilbert, who I talked about before, the basketball coach at North. Ed Brill, who's another guy I've coached with all my life, and Darren Sisk, who has moved to Illinois. We have this accountability group that we started, and it's incredible. We text each other daily. We have a Zoom call that we do on Saturdays, just the 4 of us. And we can share about anything we want to. And I know there's lots of times when there's those temptations out there, and I start to step that way, and then I'm like, I got to talk to these guys on Saturday. This ain't going to be good because they're going to ask me what's going on. So, you'd like to think that just God seeing you do it would be enough, but sometimes having a brother stand there next to you and you're like, you're way off the path, and they give you that kick in the backside. And so that accountability part of it is huge. And so, God's just been blessing me with all this stuff. I wake up in the mornings and I'm anxious to get on my iPad and not go to some of the things online, but to go to YouVersion and read from His Word and read from other people and what they have to say about it. We have that in our accountability group where we have Bible studies we do together, and we share after we're done with that, which it causes you to meditate on the word, and I don't think I've ever done that before, where I actually stopped and meditated on it a little bit and thought through it and all the rest. But all those things, and just this morning, the devotion that we all had was from James, and it talks about be slow to speak or quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because it doesn't produce the righteousness that God desires. And he says for us to be not just hearers of the word, but doers of the word.
Yes.
And that's what this group, that's what my accountability groups, it's forcing me not to just be a hearer anymore. I've been a hearer for a long time. It's time for me to be a doer. And so I appreciate that, and I thank everybody here for it.
That's all good. Jeff, thank you. Thank you. John Purcell, you're on deck. Harry Foster. And Harry brought a big crew today, too. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing a lot of folks here. Tell us why you're involved, Harry.
You know, Rod said 2 or 3 minutes. I guess it's time for my 2 or 3 minutes. You know, we started this about 12 or 15 years ago. My friend Bill Lewis called me up and said, listen, I want you to come and join this group, see what this is all about. And he said, it starts about 6 to 6:15. And I said, you know, that's just not a chance. I just, if you guys would put that off to 9 o'clock, I'd be more than happy to attend that. So 2 or 3 weeks later, after he was persistent enough, I showed up at 6:15 just to get him off on that. So listen, that was 12 or 15 years ago. I don't think I've missed a week since. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I've been a workaholic all my life. I've raised 6 kids. I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of them here today. I'm just absolutely thrilled with what we've had an opportunity to do. I've been a workaholic, as I mentioned, all my life. I don't think I've been a real good parent. I've worked so long that and the whole idea was to make money, and I just didn't. I don't think I was a very good parent. I'm thrilled that I've got my wife here with me today. I'm thrilled that I had my wife here with me today. You know, out of this accountability group, out of this group came our accountability group, 7 or 8 of us that meet on Thursday mornings. We don't necessarily hold ourselves accountable, but we work on spreading the word of the Lord. And that's exactly what we try to do. And these are guys that know exactly what our group is about. We know what we're trying to do. We know that the word of the Lord is just exactly what we do. And so therefore, the whole thing that we try to do out of this whole thing is what the word of discipleship is just exactly what we're trying to do. Right. I appreciate you guys more than I can tell you. And anything in the world that we can do for each other, I know that we're there for you. I appreciate you more than I can tell you. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Harry, you're a blessing. You are a blessing. Hey, Vincent, you're on deck. Vincent? Yeah, there you go. John, Mr. John, can't wait to hear this. Let's go for it.
Good morning. Go back. It's not your time. When I was 5 years old in 1950, my mom and dad shared with me that my tonsils and adenoids would need to be removed by the family doctor. I probably did not understand what they told me, but on the appointed day in January, my parents took me to the hospital in Albia, Iowa, to have the procedure completed. I did not recall ever having had any surgery, but this day would go down as a turning point in my life. I was very nervous, as I am right now, not knowing what all this was about. They took me by gurney to the operating room and proceeded to give me ether, since that was the form of drug used at that time for surgeries. I fought against this and the administration of that procedure. And as the room seemed to be moving in a circle now, I slowly went unconscious. The next moment, I remembered looking down from above to this brightly lit operating room. And the doctor had called my dad and mom into the room to tell them that my heart had stopped and there was nothing more they could do. my mother started crying on my father's shoulder. My father said a short prayer of protection for me. I felt a feeling of moving upward away from the bright lights of the operating room that led to an opening of bright sunlight. I then saw the outline of a man standing at that entrance who raised his hand like a crossing guard, and he said, "Stop, go back. It's not your time yet." I next recall waking up in a hospital room with my parents and the doctor who did the operation. The doctor looked at me and said, as he touched me on my right shoulder, "I thought I may have lost you today." I groaned back with him as best as I could from the operation. "Why did you make my mother cry and my dad pray?" All three of the adults looked at each other and then at me. I was able to say, the man in the tunnel raised his hand and said, "Go back. It's not your time." That's been over 70 years ago that took place. And I recall this because it was a turning point. I now know what those words meant to me in 1950. Music has been my lifelong calling, of which service includes the following: substitute choir director, First Presbyterian Church, Bowling Green, Missouri; First Baptist Church, Park Forest, Illinois; First Baptist Church, Old Wine, Iowa; First Baptist Church, Joplin, Missouri; interim choir director, Forest Park Baptist Church in Joplin, Missouri; choir director, First Community Church, Joplin, Missouri; Fellowship Baptist Church, Joplin, Missouri; First Christian Church, Tipton, Iowa; Emmanuel Baptist Church, Independence, Missouri; Sycamore Hills Baptist Church, Independence, Missouri; orchestra founder and director, Sycamore Hills Baptist Church; First Baptist Church, Lee Summit, Missouri; instrumental ensembles, Oakwood Baptist Church in Kansas City; 35 years in public education contact with students. I went back, and this totals around 13,504 students, plus or minus a few. 26 plus years in college education, contact with students, 511 students, and that's 14,015 students. Jumping forward to most recently, my experience, I had gone on a sabbatical leave to UMKC, and I'd completed all my coursework, and I completed my comprehensive exams. I updated all my placement papers and updated my references and recommendations for the UMKC placement office. February the 10th at 9 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from Dr. Irvin Phillips, chairperson of the Visual and Performing Arts Department of the KC Mo School District. He asked me if I would be interested in interviewing for a job. I asked him what time and what did I need to bring. Well, he said, how about 10:30 a.m. and it would be about 45 minutes. After 2.5 hours in that interview, which included a vocal and instrumental performance, teaching any grade level one of the elements of music, my favorite composers, the dates when they were born and when they died, and the kind of music that they composed, plus my resume. Well, later, I asked him after I was hired, where did he get my name from, or who did he get my name from? And he couldn't recall. I was teaching in 21 years in Kansas City, and I would go into the human resources offices in Kansas City where they kept all of the information about each employee. And I never could find any name that I could associate. But I do know that there was one person that did recommend me for that job and that calling. Dennis Barnes invited me to join this group. And I didn't know that Bill Lewis was here, but we were in choir together at college at Northeast Missouri State Teachers College. But you never know when you're going to come in contact with someone. And it's one where the accountability that everyone has here helps us grow each. Because one may never know when it's our time. And it could have very easily been for me when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
But that is my
It's good.
accountability.
John, thank you so much. What a blessing. What a blessing. Hey, Bob McGann, you're up next. Vincent Shelby, you brought it down yesterday, brother.
Hold on, Rod. Hold on. We got to wand him first. Got to check him. Make sure yeah, God's up. Empty that pocket right there. All right, you good to go.
Good God. Oh, man.
Let's get over. This will make more sense after you hear what Vincent shares, okay?
Bless God. God is a good God. I just want to thank God for just being here. You know why I keep a smile on my face? Because you don't know really where I come from. I want to thank God for Craig White. I really do. I want to thank God for this group. Because when I got saved, it was back in 2000, January the 30th. I was in the drug world. In the drug world. Running dope down the highway, doing all that I was big enough to do. And the day that God saved me, I was supposed to do the hits, but they had put the hit out on me. But that's why I tell you how good he is. But I really thank God for this group and for God coming into my life, because the day that I got saved, when I was supposed to do the murders, that's when he came to me that night. And man, it's so much to tell. I have so much testimony to tell you how good God is. He's great. He's awesome. So when I look at y'all and I give y'all love, it's because I had a stony heart, a stony heart. But God gave me a loving heart, a fleshly heart. So that's why I'm up here. When I come to embrace you, or I smile at you, it's real. It's love. It's nothing to be played with. And I don't play with God because I had an encounter with God, because I didn't believe in God. I didn't know that it was a God. How you going to tell me that a God that I can't see? How you going to tell me that? Well, it's a God. I'm telling you, he's real. Because the night that I got saved, I had a split second to make it. Just that second, I saw the devil and I saw the light. And this voice kept talking to me. And I said, well, who's this voice talking? And I know I was high. I'm snorting so much coke. Y'all don't know how much coke I used to snort. Smoking weed, drinking that Tanqueray, big enough to what I could do. Because when you're in that coke world, you have no animosity. You don't care about life, people, nothing. It means nothing to you. Nothing to you. When you say go kill this person, do the drug, the coke, it's a devil. It tells you, go do it. You have no animosity towards nobody. Don't care about life. But God did great things in my life. But that's why me just standing up here, I know I'm not supposed to be standing up here. But God. But God. And I know what he can do. And he kept me this whole time. And we all go through something. We all go through something. Behind the story is God's glory, because we all got a story.
Yes.
We all have a story. But I don't have enough time to really tell you my testimony, because you said 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, let me just say this. You need to take this guy to lunch and hear the full story, because it is unbelievable the change that God has brought. He changed a heart of stone into a heart of flesh, didn't
Man,
he?
you don't
Tell
have
these
no-
guys how much you hated all these guys before Jesus.
I hated y'all, did. I'll be honest. I'm being honest. And, you know, I worked for Dunn. I was an iron worker by trade. So I worked a lot of years out in the field. And back in 2005, I owned the company. I built that sprint arena. I started it. I was the first minority down there on that job. So you don't know where a person comes from, but God put me down there and he taught me how to love and how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I didn't care nothing about different colors. This color don't mean nothing. If you take this skin off us, we all the same.
That's right.
Only way we know that we not the same when we start talking. But I'm telling you, we all the same. So I'm telling you, while I'm sitting up here standing, I'm not supposed to be standing up here. I should be busting hell open right now. So when y'all see me with a smile on my face, it's real. It's real. Because I have a right to smile and to have joy that God give me. We all go through something. All of us in this room. All of us in this room. So when I come to embrace y'all, believe me, when I shake and I smile at you, it's from my heart.
Amen.
It's strictly from my heart. I thank God for Ron.
Yeah.
And I thank God for Greg. I thank God for all y'all. That's the group right there. I love all of them. But I truly want to thank y'all. But I really have so many testimonies. But like I said, I'm being obedient. It's just 3 minutes that I have. But like I said, if you want to hear how good God is at my testimony, I can tell you some stories how good he has been to me.
Amen. That's so good. Vincent, thank you, bro. Felton, and then we'll end with Craig. Okay, so Felton, you're up on deck. Bobby McGann. It's hard to follow Vincent. I know that. You did it yesterday, too.
You just stole my thunder. Yeah, I don't have anything cool to say like that, but I actually talked to Vincent before this morning. And just, you know, you feel it, don't you? You feel it. Even if you haven't been in those same shoes, you feel it. And you have compassion for him. So how did I fall into this TGIW thing? I was grabbed by that big black fella in the corner there that wandered down Vincent here a few minutes ago. Back in 2010, I was going through a really tough divorce. He said, "You're coming with me." I came with him. And things have changed. My outlook is different. I have a spring in my step again. I met the woman of my dreams who was in front of me all the while. That's a whole nother story. Take me to lunch and I'll tell you about that story one of these days. Here's what I love to do. This is my locker room. I go down to the City Union Mission. I talk to the homeless guys every Tuesday morning, an extension of TGIW down at the City Union Mission. Every Tuesday morning at 6:30. So what I'm doing is basically recruiting you right now. If God has a call on your life, even if you haven't taken that first step, take that first step, come down there, show some support to those guys. You don't know where they come from. They look like you. They look like me. They've made some poor decisions. We can point them in the direction. We're not saving anybody. We are just supporting and encouraging. The coolest thing that those guys say to me is that you always show up. You show up. My whole life, I'm a 55-year-old guy. I've been in prison half my life. You show up every Tuesday morning. No one has ever shown up for me every Tuesday morning. You know? So this has allowed me to take another lane and do something that I never would have dreamt. Standing in front of people talking, I don't like doing this. Now it's what I'm called to do.
That's right.
It's not perfect speech. I'm not eloquent by any means, but this is my locker room. I'm familiar with each and every one of you because we are teammates in this. And so we need to share our stories. We need to be encouraging to one another. And you just need to take that first step. So thank you to Rod. Thank you to Greg. Thank you to Dan. These guys were instrumental in putting me in a better position to go out and do ministry. So the gospel's simple. Come, get equipped, and go.
That's right.
So we're all called to go. We're getting equipped here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now take that first step in faith and go help somebody who needs help. And they're right next to you. You just don't know it yet. So that's it.
That's good.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Felton Bishop, you're a blue tag guy. Tell us about TGIW impacting your life.
My life started in a small little country named Panama. I'm a 6-year-old kid. My mom marries a GI that I really wasn't that fond of, but I end up in the States. And then it's a long journey, but I knew of God very early. I got saved when I was 8. And, you know, as you go into your teenage years, you go into some trials and things that you're not really prepared of. And so you slip up, but God was always there. And long story short, I ended up in Missouri because of the military. I was at Whiteman Air Force Base. I knew that in my heart, I love kids, and God, was pushing me towards teaching. So, I got my teaching degree. I ended up here in Missouri, and I've been teaching in Lee Summit now for 23 years. And I started attending LSCC 20 years ago, and I kept hearing TGIW. Back then, they would, put things on the screen, and it piqued my curiosity. Larry, generally, and Brian, who owns this place, they both invited me. I show up, been here ever since. What I love from the start, my whole thing is, in my life, I was always looking for things to be real, because we know that there are a lot of fakes out there. And even myself, I can put myself in that category. There's been times that I've been fake, but God has always been in my ear my whole life, and he's always encouraged me, be real, okay? And this place has always been real. I mean, from day one, couple guys that I'm meeting, they're telling me their stories, and then I realized, okay, it's okay to tell your story. Just tell your story. And Rod has always preached accountability, and that's what I love. Meeting these guys over here, it's kind of funny because when I first started going, I used to sit at all sorts of different tables, right? And then eventually I met Johnny and the rest of the guys, and there's something about them. They draw you in, and then you just want to be there all the time. But I love these guys, and I know that they love me too. Team Jesus, I've only known the guys probably for about 6 months or so, but those guys are awesome. If you ever get a chance to just work side by side with them, I promise you, you'll never be the same. Okay. And Rod, I just want to thank you and Greg for just being my big brothers, because I love you guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Greg.
You got it? Let me get it. Okay. I'll be quick. I'll tell you. And Felton, I love you. Love you. My son and I and a few other guys, some that are here, well, I don't know if they're here today or not. A father-son trip we took to Jamaica probably 15, 16, 18 years ago. And Felton was on that too. And we went to do some mission work there. And it's stuff like that. Every single testimony I've heard today, that's why I do what I do. I mean, I say this is what, our 19th year. I think every year we've had a celebration like this, I've said at least this: I hate the mornings. I got to bed about 1:30. That's kind of typical for me. So 1:30, getting up at 5 something. I hate the mornings, but I love Tuesday and Wednesday, man. I love being with you guys, and to hear those, that blesses my soul. Every one. And God is pleased, man. Satan is ticked. And if you don't know it, he's going to do any and everything he can today to wipe that smile off your face and to try to take that joy out of your heart. Because he does not want, you're dangerous when you are submitted and fully surrendered to the Lord. When you have given yourself fully to him, you are a dangerous, dangerous man. And Satan doesn't like that. If you're just kind of floating along like Vincent was a good part of his life, he didn't even have to mess with Vincent. You know, Vincent's doing his thing on his own. He's messing his life up on his own. But when you're a serious follower of Christ, he stands up and takes notice, guys. He's taking notice of a bunch of people in here today. So I want you to be aware of that, number one. And have your defenses up. Put the armor of God on today. Be ready. And be ready every single day. That's the only way to live, really. That's the only way to live, is to be a dangerous man, a David kind of a guy, man after God's own heart. You guys absolutely bless me. In 35 plus years of ministry, I've never had more fun than a ministry like this. Being with you guys, hearing those stories, being encouraged in my own spirit to say, yes, Lord, today. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Whatever it is, wherever it is, yes, Lord. That's my answer. And so I appreciate you guys more than I can tell you. And thank you, everyone, for those testimonies. And I know we could have taken this microphone to every table and around every table, and we'd be here till next Wednesday, which would be awesome. But we'd run out of coffee and we wouldn't have any more Panera to sustain us. But we all have a story. Vincent said it. We all have a story. And tell your story. Tell your story. Allow God to get glory and you to get the joy as a result of that. Okay? Love you guys.
You've heard this from me every year. I'm going to say it as we close today. 1 Timothy 4:7-8. It says these words. Discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. And guys, there's 3 keys to doing it. First, you show up. That's what Bobby McGann taught. Show up, show up, show up. That's 50% of the battle. Just getting your rear end where your rear end needs to be, okay? So show up. Then when you show up, you look up and you give praise to God and you say, God, I need your help. And guess what? He wants to be there to help you. So you look up. And then the final thing you do is you open up. You begin to share, you begin to dialogue. And when you do those 3 things, show up, look up, and open up, guess what? God does amazing things. Vincent said it this way, every story is all about God's glory. Guys, take your story, share it with others, and give God the glory. Lord, that's our prayer today, that you would be glorified, that you would be pleased, that you would be exalted. Thank you for what we've heard this morning. We are stirred. We're stirred inside because we know, Lord, the same God that did the work in the men that we heard from today, that's the same God that's at work in our life as well. And Lord, you're not finished with any one of us. And Lord, as we show up and as we look up and as we open up, Lord, may you be glorified and may you be pleased. We praise in Jesus' precious name. Amen and amen. God bless you. Put your chairs on the tables. See you next week, okay?